Hello, Abigail here with the astrology for this week. You'll love to hear, guys. We're back into a week of complete chaos and a lot of astrology. I'm sure you're thrilled. It's not all bad, and it's never all bad. It is going to be very intense. We are now officially in the Mercury retrograde. We are building into that last eclipse on Tuesday. We still have the runoff till I think the 18th when we have that final Pisces eclipse free full moon, but we're in it to win it. A lot of really important Mercury retrograde events happen this week. So let's get into it. Starting off Monday, Mars moves into Pisces. We are finally done with that Aquarius shit show, for use of a better term, that we experienced. It always kind of happens that way. We get this pile up during Capricorn and Aquarius season before everything kind of splits off and spreads out and then kind of comes back around into that little cluster. So it's out of it. It is now in Pisces. Mars in Pisces isn't necessarily one thing or another. It's kind of a wanderer. I do think you can have a lot of really um, beautiful energetic work when Mars is in Pisces. Once again, not hyper productive necessarily, but we get to take flights of fancy and to travel and to direct our desires through dreams and symbols and signs, which is super fun. So Mars will be in Pisces. Like I said, we're finally over with the Aquarius stuff. Also, this is just me personally. I have a 29-degree Saturn in Aquarius, so whenever anything leaves Aquarius, it is a huge sigh of relief. Um, but I think especially this year, after how intense the Cazimis and the combustion and the under the rays was, especially with Pluto, I think we can all kind of give a little sigh. It will be wrapped up in the Mercury retrograde. We will have 2 Mars conjunctions attached to this. Last time we had 3, but very much tied into the action and the desire that we would like to desires that we have that we would like to like make around commitments and around um, honestly a lot of spiritual work. So that's pretty exciting. Then we get the lunar eclipse in Virgo. I will do a longer video on this, but this one's a spicy one, guys. We have 3 more eclipses on this axis, but this is the last eclipse while the nodes are in Pisces and Virgo. So kind of a farewell, kind of not. Fun fact, the Aquarius Leo axis never gets a full eclipse season to itself. We have a triple eclipse with Capricorn and in the summer of next year. So buckle up over a year in advance. But this is a really potent one. It is a south node eclipse. It is very close to the south node. If you have planets at 12 degrees of Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, or Sagittarius, sorry, the Mercury retrograde's already biting me in the ass. This is going to be really impactful for you, especially if one of those is your rising sign. It's on the angles of your house. And so very intense. So keep an eye out for that. It will be closing kind of, like I said, ish the eclipse portal. We will still have that 2-week runoff, but the major eclipse portal will slowly start to close, which is nice. Then on Wednesday, we have, and the reason I'm moving on so quickly is because I will do another video and I will post that on Sunday. I always try to post it like a day or 2 out so you have time to watch it before the energy hits. I'll also do a tarot reading with that. That's how I format my new and full moon videos. This is a lunar eclipse or a full moon. So definitely a vibe of release and letting go. I expect, especially since I'm getting hit on the angles of my chart, to have a lot of grief and watershed around this. That's going to be true even if you don't have it on your angles because it is a south node eclipse and it is a full moon. So this combination of like release and untangling and letting go of energetic cords, huge past life processing point and moment, which can cause kind of unexpected grief that feels larger than the moment at hand. So keep an eye out for that and give yourself space and time if you can on Tuesday. It happens at 11:34 a.m. So if you can, be gentle on yourself that morning, in the very least. Then on Wednesday, we have Venus sextile Uranus. This is the last Venus sextile. And then Uranus will go into Gemini in April. So this is a little goodbye from Venus. It's a really sweet and cute one. It's not a square, it's not a trine. It's this little chat between, Venus in Pisces and Uranus and Taurus. Both of these are very romantic, beautiful, benefic signs. I think it'll be a bit of relief. Like I said, I don't always talk about world stage stuff, but I do think we might see some solutions coming out of communities for the time at hand, which will be nice. Some innovation for how to long term survive the world that we currently live in, which I think will be good. Um, I will say that South Node lunar eclipse in Virgo is going to be exposing some people, and not in the way that we expect. It'll be stuff that we didn't know and we couldn't have believed. I think there might be some more people in the old EP files who we didn't expect to be there. Yeah. Back to the calendar. On Thursday, we have Sun trine Jupiter. Once again, Jupiter is still retrograde, but I do think this is a beautiful moment for opportunity and for a little bit of balm on the eclipse moment of seeing and feeling the possibilities of the future. No, Jupiter hasn't stationed direct yet, but we're getting there. We're so close. We're inching towards it. I'm trying to remember when it stations. Oh, stations next week on the 10th. So great. Um, so this is also kind of our little final retrograde lesson. What did the Jupiter retrograde bring you? What have you learned? Jupiter in Cancer has been a little bittersweet for me. Did Jupiter, and this is how Jupiter acts in my chart a lot of times. Um, I have a day chart, so Saturn and Jupiter are my benefic and malefic. I find that they kind of blur lines with each other in my chart. Jupiter has always brought me very good things, but it has always come at the cost of something. Also, probably has a lot to do with my own Jupiter placement. It has a tough opposition. But Jupiter has been giving stuff, even as the rest of the world, the rest of the aspects have been taking. And so, focusing on this day on what we have been given, on what is possible, on the beauty that surrounds us, the relationships that are stable, the people who do care for us. Also, I think this is a beautiful day with the sun trine to appreciate ourselves and the ways that we have striven and progressed during this retrograde. The ways in which we have advocated for and shown up for ourselves and believed in, what is possible, even when, other people doubted us or when it seemed like we wouldn't make it. I saw someone put it this way, and I agree. Everyone has been like, why hasn't Jupiter and Cancer been better? And it's like, well, Jupiter and Cancer has been mitigating all of the bullshit that's been going on in the universe. And so it has not been as great as you might have expected because everything else is happening. But where has Jupiter cushioned your fall, shown up for you, protected you? Look at where Jupiter is currently in your chart and your own personal Jupiter to get more insight. Mine is in the 11th. So it's been a lot of support from friends and larger groups and having people shout out my stuff online and be really sweet about encouraging people to come to me as clients, which has been really wonderful. So what has Jupiter brought you? What has Jupiter given you? What is a way that you can, I venerate Jupiter as a deity, what are some ways that we can appreciate the care that has been given even in the midst of all of this kind of higgledy-piggledy, hectic energy that has been going on since the beginning of 2025, that we're still in. So, seeing Jupiter's exaltation as our protection rather than why haven't you been doing enough? And then asking ourselves, if we've been feeling that way about Jupiter, how have we been treating ourselves, right? If we have been blaming the universe for not being benefic enough, where have we blamed ourselves for our situation or shortcoming instead of the system and the circumstances that we've been put in? Also, just warning you, my dog's about, I don't know if the mic's going to protect you, but my dog has a tracheal issue, so he's about to choke and sound like he's dying. He's not. And yes, I have tried to find ways to fix it, and it's not fixable. He's currently drinking so much water. Anyways, Sun trine Jupiter. Baby, you okay? Oh, love her. All right, he's done. Um, seeing the ways in which things have shown up, I do think on this day that some good things are going to show up. Very dependent on where, this falls in your chart. So keep an eye out what it's aspecting. But I think there is something sweet in this day. I also think this is a great day for self-advocating. So standing up for yourself, being larger than life. If you are currently in a power imbalance, taking back some of that power, um, being bold and brave. Thursday is a very good day for that. Then we have Friday. Venus enters Aries. Venus in Aries is detriment, which is a huge switch up from Pisces to Aries. I'd say that there are some signs that are like more closely related. So, for instance, I find that Virgo and Libra feel very like sibling like, where in the sense of like a lot, not siblings is the right term. They just feel very aligned, like they're two different ends of a process. Whereas where Libra balances, Virgo purifies. There's a sense of trying to negotiate something, whereas with Pisces and Aries, it's like not the same at all. And so when Venus goes into Aries, it's always a bit of a shock. I am a native with Venus and Aries. I personally love it, but that's also how a lot of people with Venus and Aries feel. They're like, yes. Um, it is a fighter. It is not soft. It is not gentle. It is not tender. Um, Adoring, wants to, when they see babies, they want to bite off their little chubby little cheeks. When they see someone that they love, they want to cling onto them like a tree frog. It's the aggressive side of Venus. Also feels very strongly associated with Inanna or Ishtar. Also venerate them. Um, it's a big energy shift, but it's a shift that I think is necessary in this time. It's a fighter. All detriment planets fight. They just fight in a way that's unexpected. Venus in Aries advocates for things. It's not afraid of discomfort, even though it wished it was comfortable. It does what it needs to do. It stands up for itself. It cuts off people that it loves in order to survive, um, even at a cost. Venus and Aries is willing to take two sides. They're willing to take wounding when they shouldn't, and they're also willing to sever something when the time comes. Definitely depends on where in the evolution you're at, but it is a bit of an energetic shift. It is going to go into its conjunction with Saturn and Neptune as well. And that's going to pan out over the weekend. So just be aware that it's not even just Venus in Aries, it's Venus conjunct Neptune and it's Venus conjunct Saturn. So very spicy energy when it comes to relationships. If you're not in a relationship, this could be interesting for you. If it comes to finding someone or navigating your dating life, or you're not dating life if you're not dating. If you are in a relationship, could be spicy. So, especially with the Mercury retrograde, make sure you're not reactionary if you can. Slow things down. Be open and listening to your partner, but also importantly enough, do not let them tread on you, because that is when Venus will bite back. Venus in Aries does not like to see injustice. Of course, perceived injustice, but injustice. This also could very well be a time, if you are in an imbalanced relationship of any kind, that it becomes very highlighted with the Saturn conjunction. Now, Neptune will be there, so it is going to be tricky to sort out what's going on. I'm just going to tell you. But it can also be very revealing because Saturn is there. So it's one of those kind of catch-22s. You're going to miss some things and you're going to get some things just because of the concentration of the energy. So really focus on what's important to you. Anyways, moving on to Saturday, before we get into the full Neptune conjunction with Venus, we have the Mercury Cazimi, which I think is going to be really helpful for a lot of us. It's going to help clarify some of the stuff we've been experiencing. It's going to help clarify some of the transits. It's on a Saturday, which is great. So I would encourage you to kind of like make it a real Saturday and just do whatever you want. If you're more of a person who wants to get out, get out. If you need to stay in, stay in. But give your space to experience the energy in the best way possible, in a way that like just lightens up your entire day. Do something that you enjoy. Um, I will say, might not be a bad thing to get out a little bit because I always find Mercury Cazimis are interesting for just meeting and connecting with people. You can have some really beautiful moments of like connection and revelation on a Mercury Cazimi. So I always encourage, even if it's just like a little stroll to your local coffee shop, go get some of that like energetic juice from your community. Um, this is, like I said, also the turning point in this moment where we kind of get a bit of insight into what's been going on. So just pay attention. You may not know right away what's happening, but if you're keeping track, you can look back and kind of process in reverse, which happens a lot in astrology. Then on Saturday, we also have the Venus and Neptune conjunction. This can be a bit delulu. Excuse me. It is, however, in Aries, so it's a bit spicy. There might be kind of a feeling of like biting back. I will say the ruler of Aries is in Pisces, so things are a little softer. I'm not mad at. But this can lead to some obscurity around relational things. I do think we're going to see a lot of miscommunication. Bright side, we do have the Cazimi, but once Mercury gets back under the rays and combust, it's going to be a little hard to communicate. So take your time with this one. This also might be a time to be like, hey, let's take a few days and then revisit. Let us process our feelings. I will say, if you are with someone or this is a friendship or a family member that doesn't process their feelings, it will be hard to have anything conducive happen. However, it will highlight where you are not compatible and how it's not working, which is a benefit of its own, even if it's not fun. So keep that in mind. Then the next day we have Mercury trine Jupiter. This is a really bright, really pretty astrology in spite of what's going on. We have like just had a Cazimi and now we have this Mercury trine Jupiter. This is also the last aspect before Mercury stations direct. And so, you know, we have this beautiful, lovely Mercury trine and we get to kind of like enjoy the moment for what it is. Also, I would encourage you to go back and look at the last time. Let's check my notes when the last time was. Yeah, the day before the eclipse in Aquarius, we had the Mercury trine Jupiter. Sorry, I'm at the point where this Mercury retrograde is already killing me, and I'm recording this before it stations retrograde. I'm like, please, because it's so hard now, let it be easier when it's retrograde. Um, but this is an opportunity um, to really think about strategy and think about desire less as physical acts, as organization, and more as like raw material. Um, we have this in a water sign. It's about flow, it's about permeation, it's about nurture, not in like the capitalistic extractive sense, but in the sense of like tending to and loving something wholeheartedly. Um, I also think it's going to bring a bit of a softness to the Venus Saturn conjunction. Uh, that's, you know, we're going to be still fighting with Neptune. And the Venus Saturn conjunction is going to ask, are we committed? Are we committed? And because it's in Aries, it's like, are we committed to the beginning? Are we committed to starting anew every day? Are we committed to seeing things with fresh eyes as we move through life, of being a bit reckless when it comes to love? And not sacrificing oneself necessarily, although there is a bit of a tendency towards that with that Neptune conjunction. If you already have a tendency to self-sacrifice in relationships, that Neptune conjunction is going to both make it hard for you to advocate for yourself and also be like, this is where you're not doing it. Um, but with that Mercury trine, it's like, how do I access this in a fluid way? How do I align myself with the energy of Jupiter, with the activation of Mercury? I would encourage you, and I always say this whenever we get Mercury in Pisces, especially with this trine, like, if you are creative, even if you're not, what can you do that's creative this day? What can you pour your energy into to create some kind of beautiful connection? Also, keep an eye on your dreams. They're going to be wacky. But you might also get some really interesting insights into maybe future partners or um, other romantic or non-romantic relationships. Um, if there's a theme that's been coming up, maybe this is the day we do a little bit of spell work around it. Um, but yeah, it's sort of an interesting thing. We have these Venus conjunctions, which in the current configuration, spicy, not easy. But they do ask us, what are you willing to die for? Like metaphorically and realistically, what are you willing to like make your last stand on? What hill will you die on for a connection, for care? And then we have to ask ourselves, Mercury, trine Jupiter, is this hill worth dying on? Is it what's best for me? Is it just me repeating an old cycle, or is this a new cycle where I am choosing hills not because I have been forced to pick this hill, but because this hill is truly a hill I desire to perish on? And so, it's a week of asking ourselves hard questions, but we have support from the universe. And to me, that's really beautiful and really hard, which me wanting to tear up about it says a lot about my Venus and Aries being like, oh, so difficult and yet so beautiful, which is very me coded. Makes sense that I'm a Venus and Aries. So yeah, enjoy these moments of release. We have such a week of such intensity that's sprinkled with these benefic aspects that also has kind of these, could be really enlightening depending on how much work we've done, but also could be really difficult depending on how much work we've done. But take this time to allow yourself to process and move with things. If you don't know what to do, go with the flow. If you don't know what to do, let the energy guide you. If you don't know what to do, take a nap, take a rest. You're not going to go anywhere pushing things this time. Wait until the spring equinox. That's where I'm postponing everything to. But allow also in these moments, allow goodness to come. Allow the bright side to shine out. Allow the benefic nature of something to be highlighted, even when things are difficult, even when things are hard and not pleasant or what we wanted. A lot of the shifts and changes are timeline shifts. What we desire now is going to be so different from what we experience later on. And it's neither good nor bad. It just is. And that's really the energy of this week, is finding the light and the hope where we can, buckling down and doing the work when we have to, and throwing our hands up and being like, you know what, I'm going to get a little snack because that's all I can do in this moment. Anyways, my loves, that is the astrology of this week. Next week, a lot more chill, honestly. Do we have some impactful situations? Yes. But literally, as I'm looking at this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we have something every single day. So take your time. You're not going to process this energy all at once. Journal, move. I always suggest dance to people, and sometimes I think people think I'm talking like big sweeping motions, especially next week when we have the Mars Mercury conjunction. Dance will be really important, but I'm disabled, so I can't really do like big dance motions without hurting myself or causing a flare up. You can literally just bounce your body a little bit, move your arms, and I will tell you, stuff will come up for you. You don't even have to do a full thing. Move your hips a little bit to work out that root chakra. Um, get the root chakra moving. None of the stuff that I suggest ever has to be massive. If I say make art, draw a doodle. If I say dance, shimmy in your kitchen. And you can go the opposite direction. You can paint a whole painting. You can put on some music and do an entire dance routine to it. But just doing an act is so powerful. I encourage you, especially in a week like this, do the little things with intention. Move a little bit, eat a little bit, drink a little bit of water. Don't give yourself any massive to-do list. That's not what this week is for. The universe has got the to-do list and it's doing those things. But do what you can as you can. And I really encourage, I'm sensing some of you need to connect with ancestors. You have been avoiding it. They will come for you. Some of you need to do spiritual work. Some of you need to do past life work. Some of you are still hanging on to old connections that are just not going to happen in this lifetime. And I've been seeing it a lot with clients, which is why I'm telling you now. Reggie, hey, no. He gets startled and he's very guard doggy. He's very precious. I don't know if you've ever seen Reggie, but sometimes I put him on my story on IG. He's a small golden dog, my baby. But yeah, so do the little things this week. Celebrate the things that seem really small but have been really big in supporting you. Look back over the last 6 months and see the shifts and changes that have happened. It'll blow your mind how much you have done, even if it feels in this moment that you haven't done much. You have. Connect with spirit. If there's a deity calling to you, light a candle. If there's an ancestor, give them water. If there is a spirit, ask them what they want. You also should ask them if they're pristine light, just in case they're not. I thought that was silly when I first started using that method, and it's not silly. I was wrong. But there's tons of spiritual activation this week, and I encourage you to take advantage of it and to connect where you can, allowing the physical world to do what it will do while you stabilize your internal world and listen to what is happening on the inside. Because a lot is going to happen in the world this week on the outside. I'll just tell you that. That's just the nature of this energy. So be ready for more things to shake your world on the outside, but focus on that inner world and the people that you care about and supporting your community. Because in weeks like this, that is how we keep each other safe. Anyways, my loves, I love you all, and I hope that you are having an okay week so far, and that wherever this reading finds you, that is helpful. I will talk to you later.